Hey guys, welcome to the HVAC Diaries. This episode of the HVAC Diaries is brought to you by New Calgon. How are you guys this week? Did you have a good week? Our week was actually quite slow again. We had a holiday on Monday. It was Canadian Thanksgiving. The rest of the week was mostly refrigeration jobs, and we did have one HVAC related job at a liquor store. So if you're excited about these adventures, let's go. Our week started off at this little Iranian supermarket. He's got a bunch of like fresh fruit and vegetables there, but also a lot of imported items. There was some garlic shampoo that kind of caught my eye. Anyway, so he's got these two vegetable display coolers. I think they're actually curtain coolers because they send the air up and then down like over the product from above. Anyway, so both of these coolers weren't working. The first one wasn't getting below 16 degrees Celsius. And actually, when we arrived there, the compressor wasn't running at all. It was just, he thought it was running, but I think he just heard the condenser fan running. So we had to look at that one. And then the other one was the evaporator keeps freezing over. So when we arrived, he was just talking about, how tight money is right now and everything. And we're just like, yes, totally understand. So we're hoping that this is a quick, easy fix for you, but the compressor one that's not starting could be a problem. Anyway, so we spent some time there trying to access the compressor starting components because they were just kind of in the back and
negative. So why do you negative?
Unfortunately, this is as far as this thing pulls out. And the unit doesn't pull away from the wall either, so we can't go from the back. Anyway, we were able to pull out the start capacitor and dead capacitor, which is fantastic news. We had a capacitor on hand and replaced it, and the compressor started up right away. So that was a nice, easy, quick fix. See that hole there? That looks where it popped.
No, yeah, that's the one you gave me.
Amazing! Yep. Yay! It was a $13 part rather than the $1,300 part, which made him very, very happy and grateful. The other unit, though, that was icing up on the evaporator coil, the thermostat, the temperature controller, it's a mechanical one. You just turn it with your fingers. It's got a little knob.
Yeah,
That thing just wasn't responding at all. So what happened was the compressor would run, and then the thermostat would never tell it to turn off. So it would just keep running and running and running. And obviously the coil gets colder and colder and colder. It ices up, it forms ice, like completely frosts over, and then there's no more airflow. So then the temperature rises. So we had to go and collect a new thermostat and then go back the next day and replace it because his store opens at 9 a.m. and he is always quite particular about having all of the work done before his store opens, which, to be fair, I actually really appreciate because it's so difficult and tricky and frustrating and awkward to be working in a space where other people are working. And I understand, like, they're just doing their jobs and everything. They're just there to do what they have to do, but so are we, and we're always in the way. So it's so much better when they're like, hey, can we open the store a couple hours early for you to come early? And then, yes, absolutely. So we went back the next day and we replaced that mechanical thermostat. Oh.
That's gonna come through here.
Does it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Look.
Oh, through that little notch. Okay, I see. For the cover, I see.
No, just don't touch that because that's gonna blow it up. So no, you're gonna have to take that out, put that in, and put it back top. Otherwise, it's right here against those terminals.
I see what I've done. Thank you. Sorry about that.
I've seen that. So
It comes with a temperature sensor on a long capillary tube, which has to just get fed in through the cabinet and then out into the evaporator. Trevor actually secured it before I could get a video of it because I was doing the thermostat itself. So tell me what you did with the sensor. The short version of this.
Strapped the sensor to the front of the coil between the two fans.
And so what's the long version?
The long version was I originally was going to mount it right behind the fan,
Yeah.
but I decided against that because the cold breeze of the fan would go onto the sensor and prematurely switch it off.
So you
So
put
to
it in
avert that, I put it in the sensor out of the airflow, so that should give a better depiction of what the actual return air temperature is.
Amazing. Yeah. So so we had to pull out the old one and get the new one snaked in.
Actually, can you get the big bag if you ever put that all in?
If I can lie down, yeah. I should be able to reach that if somebody can pull it from the top.
throwing the old thermostat away, you're not going to use it. Up the tail end.
Flashlight gone. Here it is.
That'll be right next.
Thanks, bud. So helpful. Okay, so oh shit, there we go. One of our catering truck customers, he called us and he's like, hey, I've got this reach-in freezer on my catering truck. It's warm. Please, can you come and take a look at it? And he's always like, he calls us and he's like, I'm so sorry. Like, his equipment is always in such poor shape and he always like expects the worst. He's like, I'm just calling you to get the bad news. So when we checked out this freezer, all it was, luckily for him, was his little defrost timer that was busted. So it wasn't sending, it wasn't turning on the defrost. So again, the evaporator coil was completely frozen over, stopped the airflow, it was getting warm in there. So yeah, we just replaced the defrost timer and that did the trick. So he's pretty thrilled that he's still gonna get a little bit more life out of this freezer. So what ends up happening on these catering trucks, you guys, is they put this equipment in and then they basically build it in because they're on the road, right? They're on the move. So they don't want anything moving or shifting or anything. So they basically build it in. So when it comes time to replace one of those units completely, like, it is such a hassle. You basically have to disassemble most of their truck just to get that piece out. Anyway, he didn't have to do that. He's pretty happy. Oh, still frozen in there.
Yeah, she's a solid block.
Yeah. Well, if the defrost timer is not in the circuit, then that's gotta do that. So yeah, there's a little defrost timer in here.
So if I grab a multimeter, we check between 1 and 4, and that's open, that confirms.
A defrost timer.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, ask Pamela if you can borrow this.
Okay.
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 So every 12 hours for 30 minutes.
Oh, okay.
According to this.
And that's like a default?
According to this, yes. Well, it says defrost 6 hours 20 minutes.
Cool.
For all these brands.
Oh, I see.
You see it? Defrost is 2,
2.
which will be
Black. That's what I was going for. Alright, so now we want to plug.
black. After a few days, should get that gone.
Trev noticed this little mark on the side. It looks like maybe a screw has gone through it, perhaps, and maybe caused some damage. We took a look at a walk-in cooler at this warehouse. It's super tall ceilings, like maybe 30-foot ceilings in this walk-in cooler. So this guy, he called us and he's like, yeah, my cooler was sitting at 7 degrees yesterday, which is higher than normal. And then today it's sitting at 14 degrees. So please, can you come and check it out? So when we arrived there, we were like, cool, just need to get your scissor lift. And he's like, what scissor lift? We're like, how can we go up there and do work without a scissor lift? So anyway, so we went onto the roof to go and investigate. And luckily for us, well, I shouldn't say luckily for us, the problem was on the roof. So we didn't have to get a scissor lift in and all of that stuff. We could do all of our work on the roof.
The top off. Sure. We'll do a proper leak test there.
Yeah.
Switch it on and see what happens.
But unluckily for him, he's got a major refrigerant leak on the condenser coil.
It's just my mom talks. Holy shit!
Oh my word.
That's dumb.
Holy shit.
Okay. So we can actually.
Okay. So she's not empty. The oily spider webs show the way.
Here.
So we found the leak using some new Calgon bubbles.
Okay, I think let's just grab some soap.
Soap.
evidence is right there. It's on the join. So this guy basically has 3 options, and they all cost money. So the first option is we attempt to repair the coil as it is. Now, this is risky because it's already had a repair in the past. The evidence is there. You can see something's happened to it. Somebody's done work on it. So why, and it's in a completely different spot to where we're fixing our leak. So could there be a third leak down the road? Also, yeah, anything could happen to that unit after we've repaired it. So it's risky for us to do that, but it's also risky for the customer to do that because he has to pay for that. And if it doesn't work out, he has to pay for the next step, which is more expensive. So the next step is to replace the coil only. And that is definitely something that we can do. However, like I mentioned, the rest of the unit is old. So who's to say that the compressor won't die next year or in 6 months' time? And then he's on the hook for replacing the compressor as well. And I'll just make this little note that it's still an R22 system. So, so if we replace the condenser coil, anything can go wrong with this thing in the next little while. And then he's going to be on the hook for another major repair. Okay, and then the third option for him is to replace this condensing unit completely. Then he would start off with completely new equipment, a new warranty. The only thing that he's got to do with that is now we have to also replace the TXV on the inside because it's still 407C. And
I meant R22.
Well, I mean, this is his opportunity to change the equipment from an obsolete refrigerant to something new for the future. But that option is obviously the most expensive. So, yay, bad news for a Friday afternoon. You get to make this decision. Fun. That's fun being the middleman or the messenger on that one. We have another refrigerant leak to investigate. This one is on a pizza line prep cooler. It's one of those ones where it's got the rail on the top where they put their toppings and everything on the top. And then there's a cabinet on the bottom where they store stuff. And so what was happening was the cabinet was getting cold enough, but the railing wasn't anymore. So we topped her up with some refrigerant.
You want me to do it?
This is the second top up in less than 6 months. So now we have scheduled a time to go in next week where they're going to clear that whole thing out and make time for us to go and investigate this leak. And this is a case where we will go before they open their store, because it's so ridiculous for us to be in their way while they're trying to make pizzas in a place that they can't really make pizzas because their stuff isn't there for that day. You know what I mean? So hopefully it takes just a couple of hours and we can find that leak and hopefully repair it if it's in a repairable place, or make a plan to replace components if that's necessary. And our one HVAC job this week was at a liquor store. They have 3 Mitsubishi split units in their store, in their ceiling space. Unfortunately, they're so high up, so you need is it a 10 or a 12-foot A-frame ladder there? I don't remember. But anyway, first of all, walking around the store with this ladder is so sketchy because there's just glass bottles everywhere. And so, anyway, so it's definitely a 2-person job to maneuver that ladder around the store. But then also standing on top of that ladder, working in the ceiling space, I just looked down and I'm like, please don't drop anything, please don't drop anything, please don't drop anything, oh my gosh.
15 inches. Not a lot of money. And I think that's for the
So we found one thing really interesting in that store. There's 3 units in the ceiling space. The one on the very end by the wall It's not ducted to anything. What a waste of a unit. So I don't know if that unit's been running this whole time, just basically spewing money into the ceiling space. Like, there's your gas bills or your heating bills or your AC bills, your electrical bills are just going into the ceiling space. What? They were having issues where their heating wasn't working. So the poor girl working there is like, I've been freezing. Like, and it's like, it's not that cold outside yet. Anyway, so we found one of the units had lost a phase in the heating elements. They have an external system, an external heating system. I'm not gonna get this right, am I? So they're Mitsubishi units, they're heat pumps, so they do heating and cooling, and that's basically, I think, the primary way of heating. But then they also have this Thermalink heating, like an electrical heating, backup heating system, and that somehow lost communication with each other. So anyway, so we reset the whole system, we checked what we could, and then we ensured or double checked that the heat pumps were doing the primary heating and not the Thermalink system, because otherwise his heating or his electrical bill is going to be astronomical.
But we didn't get the disconnect.
But anyway, the resolution of that was just resetting the system. We think there was just some like glitchy communication issues between the Mitsubishi system and the Thermalink system.
Heat/cool selection.
But then also that one unit has lost a phase. So basically out of the three units that serve that store, well, one doesn't work and then the other one has lost a phase. So basically only one was carrying the work of the other ones. So we've just asked her to kind of monitor things for a couple of days, and then we'll check on her to make sure that we got it. We're just looking at the possibility or the feasibility of relocating these two thermostats, because it's so easy for someone just to bump it. Like the power button is right there, it's pretty big. So. Alright guys, that's all the HVAC adventures I have for you this week on the HVAC Diaries HVAC vlog. Thank you so much for joining me again. I go back to school in exactly 1 month from today, so I've got maybe 3 or 4 more vlogs to go through before I'll be taking a long break. I'll be back next year in February. So yeah, just gonna do a little bit of a countdown for the last few vlogs, and then I'll be saying sayonara just for a little while, temporarily. I'll be back once I've finished my level 4 of refrigeration school. Have a good week, guys. Bye. I don't know, this weather lately around the entire world is... I hate that. Anyway, so we were able to get into the thing. It's really difficult. It's not impossible to access, but it's just kind of tricky because, anyway, I complain all the time about things being tricky. So at the end of the day, I hate how this is going. I hate it. We battled with the thing because... Anyway, we battled with the thing because obviously it's so inaccessible. It's not real inaccessible, it was just really difficult. Fuck this story. It was a $13 pot. Because what ends up happening, you guys, on these okay, car, let's go. Anyway, they were having issues where their heating was gross. That was the worst frickin' explanation I could have ever done. Like,